uh, reaction to the virus has been complete and utter garbage. Complete and utter garbage. But what did happen? Well, curfews, then lockdowns, shutting down businesses, shutting down people, long quarantines. I mean, we've seen countries quarantine whole cities, whole regions, even entire countries being quarantined for like days and weeks, even days and weeks. But again, like, it's one thing if they say, "Hey, in 2 weeks' time, we are going to have a, say 5 day quarantine, 5 to 7 days. Let's say it's 5 to 7 days. 5 to 7 days quarantine, right? You have ample time. You have 2 weeks to buy all your groceries, all your foods, everything you need. You no need to rush. And then we're going to have a 1 week lockdown where everything is shut down. No business. No business. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's food. Doesn't matter. Look, basically, it gets to shut down. I mean, maybe only electricity and water, basically. Electricity and water because, you know, like we cannot survive without water and electricity. So basically, those two businesses basically staying open, those utilities, everything else closes for 5 to 7 days, and then, you know, if no one's out, if nothing is working for a whole week, the virus won't spread, right? You keep Obviously hospitals have to keep working. That's kind of hospitals, basically hospitals, electricity and water, right? But you know, patients who are not very sick, regardless of illness, stay home. In critical cases, those are in the hospitals, right? And okay, you reduce the spread of the virus, you stop the spread as much as you possibly can. There's no 100%, and anyone who wants to do a 100% stop of the virus, that's not realistic. That's not they're not telling you the truth. They're basically pushing an agenda. But they could have done that, for example, even though even that's bad. But they could have done that and then open up. Okay, we stopped the spread. You know, we did as much as possible. No one was working, no one was going anywhere, no one was spreading the virus. And so let's see how things develop from there. We encourage you to social distance, we encourage you to wear masks, but they didn't have to require masks, they didn't have to require social distancing. And again, what they did was basically pick and choose winners and losers. So even big corporations like Amazon factories, they were allowed to operate, but small business like barber shops, literally small barber shops with like no more than like 3 people at the time there, 3 or 4 people, they were shut down. They were shut down. Hair salons, shoe polishers. I mean, tattoo artists. But there's like 3 to 4 people in these small shops, right? But big corporations, some of them, they were allowed to operate. So right there, I mean, why did Amazon post record, profits in 2020? Why did a lot of this? Why did Google? Why did all of these online tech companies basically posted record profits? But pretty much all of them, or most of them, were allowed to operate, while small businesses, and even medium-sized businesses, they were closed down. Why? Because, well, I mean, they didn't pay, their governments. They don't have the money, they don't have the power. They're not as important, to the political class. So they were shut down. And in fact, what they did, for example, with some of the lockdowns, quarantines, they actually made the situation worse. For example, here in Macedonia, where I live, they basically imposed a lockdown or a curfew, if you will, at literally at 3 o'clock, like in the middle of the day. So if you were going to work at 7 o'clock in the morning and then return home at 3 o'clock, you literally have not time to, you, you don't have time to do anything. You go to work and you come home and that's it. You cannot even go out and buy groceries because every store, every bank, everything was closed at 3 o'clock. And that's not to mention some of the businesses basically being shut down, like, period. I mean, dance, clubs, dance sessions, fitness clubs, I mean, gyms, I mean, you name it, bars, nightclubs, they're all shut down. And then you have also a curfew at 3 o'clock, like literally in the day. And then on the weekends, you have complete lockdowns that last for days, 2 or 3 days. And what they did with those types of restrictions, curfews, and lockdowns, is basically make the situation worse. How and why? Well, I mean, everyone who wanted to purchase stuff, they were rushed from work, and they in the last hour between 2 and 3, they will all rush in. So instead of there being, I don't know, maybe 15 people, 10, 15 people at the store, there were literally 50 people at the store. 50 people at the store, 50 people at the bank, 50 people at the barber shop, 50 people at the everywhere. So all of the business that people had to do, all of the shopping they had to do, they were doing it in this like last hours, basically rush hour before everything is closed down. So basically, if you want to spread COVID, you literally create basically, you basically shoehorn people into basically purchasing everything and doing all of their stuff within an hour or two. So if everything works throughout the day, you have everything is spread out, right? You have maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 people at the store, 30 people at the store, right? But now you funnel everything into like a few hours, when people get out of work and they all rush in to buy all of their stuff and to go to the bank, get money, whatever. They all go in the same time instead of having 10, maybe 15, 20 people at a time. Now there's literally 50, 60, 70, even hundreds of people all at the same time. So tell me if that doesn't actually spread the virus more. And again, then it comes the last day before complete lockdowns, complete curfew, complete quarantine. And then again, those who were at work, those were not able to buy stuff, basically food, supplies, basic stuff, they all rushed in the last hour to prepare for 3 days of quarantine, complete 24 hours for actually 48 hours of lockdown, of quarantine. So yeah, I mean, pretty much the response from governments has been complete and utter idiocy. Complete and utter idiocy. I mean, everything they did was wrong. Everything. All of the lockdowns, all of the shutdowns, all of the quarantines, everything. Requiring masks, requiring this or that. Again, if they actually said to all people, hey, if you go outside, the best way to protect yourself is wear a mask. Well, that's not the best way, but like one of the easiest best way to protect yourself is basically social distance as much as you can and wear a mask, right? And basically put elderly people at the as the primary health recipients. So they get sick, they get preferential treatment over someone who is maybe 20 years of age, who the virus doesn't affect as much as dangerous statistically speaking, right? Statistically speaking, those who are affected in the worst way from COVID-19 are the elderly, 55, 60, even basically probably like more like 60 plus. 60 plus, that's kind of the danger zone. But even then, like if you're a healthy 60-year-old and you have you know, healthy immune system, you're a healthy 60-year-old with no underlying conditions, the chances of you developing serious illness from COVID-19 is statistically small, like about 2 to 3%. Again, if you have an underlying condition, that's where things get dicey. So of course you have to be careful. But if it actually encouraged young people, well, not encouraged to go out and get the virus, but like to, to live their normal lives, and they get got infected. I mean, again, you would hey, young people go outside, do everything you do normally, just don't visit your grandma, right? And if you do visit grandma, wear a mask for your grandma's safety, and she should also wear a mask for her own safety, right? And try to stay keep a distance, at least a meter, preferably two, from your own granny so that she doesn't get infected. And that's how you treat COVID, right? And then people who get sick, the elderly get preferential treatment. And then obviously, if a young person starts to develop, serious, issues from COVID, then you put them in a hospital as well. But again, the elderly have preferential treatment, right? You protect the elderly and you allow everyone else to operate normally, including businesses, small businesses, medium-sized businesses, big businesses, all of them. But what they did was basically they were picking winners and losers. And in most cases, the losers were small businesses and basically your average worker, because you either lost your job or your salary went down, and I mean, and they had government programs and like, oh, you'll get this and you'll get some cash, but like that's all, what I mean. What essentially the government did, governments all over the world did with COVID-19, and this is basically proof how bad governments are in general. They basically break your leg and give you crutches. And that's what they did with the economy. That's what they did with the virus. They basically ruined their own economies. Every single country, every single government ruined their own economies and then basically gave stimulus checks. They shut down the economy, they shut down businesses, they get people fired, they get people what I mean, with lower salaries, and then they give you stimulus checks. And usually it's like basically they give you crutches. They break your leg, right? They shut down your business, they get you fired, and then they give you crutches, which are the stimulus checks. And then you're supposed to thank them for the stimulus checks. And mind you, a lot of these stimulus checks, and not everyone receives stimulus checks. Not every government gives stimulus checks. A lot of governments gave like so-called stimulus checks, but they were like to so few people that pretty much no one got them. No one got them. And then there's the abuse. in all of this, they actually gave money to businesses in order to keep workers, but they didn't keep their promise, and all of the abuse, all businesses who shouldn't have gotten loans and shouldn't gotten help, got help and got loans. So, I mean, they created a problem. Okay, you have a small problem, which is COVID-19, which we knew even at the time that it wasn't, too deadly. It wasn't very deadly. It was, basically, 3 to 5% deadly for, at the time, 2020, for older people, 60 plus, and like it goes, if you were basically 40 and other, the chances of you dying from COVID is like 0.0 something. So small chances. Again, if you got underlying conditions, if you got lung issues, if you're like like morbidly obese, basically, and you're in your 40s or 50s, you know that's not healthy. You know, I mean, we saw a lot of people who were basically obese, grown men, like basically in their 40s, 130, 140, 150, short people as well, short fat people, and like that's not healthy. So yeah, I mean, all of the responses, all of the responses to COVID-19 were wrong. Now again, if at the beginning, because we didn't know exactly how dangerous it is, like how to protect from the virus, etc., 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 right? They could have done like a 1 week complete quarantine with the bare essentials like water, electricity, and hospitals working. Nothing else. Not even food. Not even food. And they announced, hey, within 2, 3 weeks or whatever, or we're going to have like a week-long quarantine to stop the spread, to minimize the spread. Again, you cannot quote stop the spread. I mean, even if you quarantine every single person and you shut down literally everything for like a whole month, to the point where people were even starving because nothing is working. You can get fruit, food from anywhere. You still would not have been able to literally stop the virus. You would have reduced it probably, significantly, but there's no way to quote stop it. There's no way, you know what I mean? All it takes is like one guy to come up with the virus, and that's it. And then what about other countries? What about visitors coming in? What about false positives, false negatives? So yeah, I mean, wrong action all around, and now we find out that the virus is actually, probably created in a laboratory. We don't know for certain, but it looks that way. It looks that way. Now the question is, was it released, incidentally, or was it released, maybe I don't know, maybe on purpose? Is it a biological weapon? You know, is it a bio weapon? I mean, who knows? Again, but these questions need to be asked, right? And literally until yesterday, Facebook, Twitter, Google, YouTube, all of this, Apple, you name it, all of these big tech corporations, big tech monopolies would ban you. They would ban you. They would censor you if you even question stuff. If you even question stuff. And that doesn't even stop with COVID-19. That doesn't even stop. I mean, big tech censorship is the biggest danger to basically freedom of speech in the whole world. Because big tech censorship, Jake Dorsey and Mike Zuckerberg and all of these people, they think they're God. They think they can control you, they can control your life, they can control what you think and what you say. And again, if people keep letting them, They will. They will ultimately control you, control us. So yeah, that's for today. Thanks for listening and watching, and see you next time.